Hello and welcome students. In this module, we will learn about the equatorial region. This is one of the climatic regions on the earth. There are variety of climatic conditions prevailing on the earth's surface, and therefore there are several climatic regions. And we divide these climatic regions on the basis of homogeneity of climatic condition, on the basis of similarity of natural vegetation, soil, wildlife, relief features, and so on. So students, first let's have an introduction and then we will understand the concept of climatic region, and then we will start learning about the equatorial region, which is one of the climatic regions. Let's start. So if we look at the first statement, our life is closely related to the environment or the surroundings. So definitely all of us agree that our life is affected by our surrounding and the environment in which we live. The land, that is the lithosphere, the water body, that is the hydrosphere, and the air, which is atmosphere. They provide favorable condition. All three realms or the spheres of the earth, that is the lithosphere, hydrosphere and atmosphere, they provide a very comfortable, favorable condition for the existence and growth of living organisms. And by this I mean wide range, millions and million types of life forms that exist and survive, grow, flourish on the planet. So when these three realms they blend together, we can make a Venn diagram to understand this. So if the first circle stands for atmosphere, and the second circle stands for lithosphere, and the third one stands for hydrosphere, then a zone where all of them meet, this is the zone which is most favorable for life. So here is the fourth realm of the earth, that is called biosphere. So biosphere is the realm of life. Thus we can see an ongoing interaction between both the physical and biological environment. So students, physical environment is what is our surrounding and where we live, and biological environment is the living environment. So when both of them they blend, they meet, they interact, so this helps in flourishing of and survival and existence of different life forms on the planet. Now the plants and animals, they adapt themselves. So definitely if the living organisms in the polar region, which is very cold, and the organisms living in the equatorial region, so they have entirely contrasting climatic condition, but still both of them survive because they have adapted, they have adjusted, they have blended with the environment for their survival. So they have adapted themselves to their surrounding to survive in the changing environment. Plants and animals modify their organs to suit the climatic condition of their surrounding. So students, here I will give you a very simple example. Like we live in India, and here we have different seasons. In summer we wear light and clothes, comfortable cotton clothes mostly, to adjust with the environment, because it's very hot during summers. Whereas in winters we clad ourselves with thick woolen clothes so that we can protect ourselves from the severe winter. So like this we have blended with the climatic condition of the country. So this is a very small example, and likewise all the living organisms, they adapt, they change, they modify themselves, and then it happens naturally so that they can adjust and blend with the environment where they are living. Now the man, being very resourceful, so we human beings definitely are the most resourceful of all the living creatures on this planet, has adapted in different ways to the climate in which we live. Sometimes human efforts also is modified the surrounding to meet the needs. So children, we are the only organisms, living creatures who even can modify the environment so that we can adjust again with our environment. The natural resources like the soil, water, natural vegetation, minerals are properly utilized by people for the development and industrial progress. So we human beings use all the natural resources for our development and for the progress. Man, with his intelligence and his technical know-how, that is with advanced technology, is able to make his own choices. So we can make our own choice. We have series of options and we can choose, because it's written, it's mentioned that man is the most resourceful of all the living organisms. Man is able to inhabit all the climatic regions. So man can live in almost all the climatic regions, from the coldest areas like tundra to the hottest deserts and densest forest of the equatorial region. So man has adapted himself to all the different extremes of environment on this planet. With the help of science and technology, man has overcome many limitations of the natural environment. So in this way, we human beings, we are the most advanced of the living creatures, and with our technological development in science and technology, we have been able to adapt and adjust ourselves to all the different types of climatic environments on the planet. So students, this is all about the concept of man and environment, that how life exists on the planet, how it thrives, what are the favorable conditions, and how we are the most advanced of all the organisms to adapt even in the extreme conditions, climatic conditions of the planet. So students, with this we will understand now the concept of climatic regions. So a climatic region or a natural region is one of where the climatic condition, the natural vegetation, the soil, wildlife and relief conditions are generally common or homogeneous, means they are of similar kind, and this one climatic region or one natural region can extend over several countries. So the climatic region does not follow the political boundaries, but they follow the homogeneity of the particular area, which can even cover several countries. So students, this is all about the concept of climatic region. Hence, human response to the natural environment is also similar. It is because of the number of climatic controls. So students, by this statement we mean that the human being also respond to the environment, and it is because of the climatic controls. This is because there are different climatic conditions prevailing all over the planet. There are no fixed or well-defined boundaries of each climatic region. The characteristics of one climatic type gradually disappears, giving place to those of the neighboring regions. So there are transitional zones between two climatic regions. Students, this means that when there is a homogeneity of climate, natural vegetation, soil and even the relief feature in a large area, and when that area, the extent of that area, or we can say the boundary, we cannot demarcate it in form of a line, rather there is a transition zone or transitional zone where one climatic region, the characteristics diminishes and the characteristics of the neighboring climatic zone becomes more vibrant. So we can understand here that there is no clear-cut boundary between two climatic or natural regions, but there is a zone of transition where the change can be seen or observed or experienced. So students, this is all about a climatic region or a natural region, and in this module we will learn about the equatorial region in the form of a natural region or climatic region. So here's the map. The region that extends from the equator 0 degree up to, we can say, 10 degree north and 10 degrees south in the southern hemisphere. This region is known as the equatorial region, and all the space of the earth's surface that lies in this zone experience the equatorial type of climate, and the vegetation that grows here is known as equatorial vegetation, and therefore this is equatorial climatic region or natural region. Students, first we'll learn about the location and the extent of this region. The equatorial region is also known as the rainforest. As the name indicates, this region extends on both sides of the equator, that is from 10 degree north to 10 degree south latitudes, and this region extends over parts of Asia, Africa, South America, which are crossed by the equator. So yes, just now we have seen in the map that this region near the equator is the equatorial region. So this is a part of equatorial region in South America, in Africa and parts of Asia. So in Asia, Malaysia, Singapore, Papua New Guinea, Irian Jaya, in Indonesia, Peninsular Thailand and parts of Sri Lanka and adjoining India experience the equatorial type of climate. In Africa, the Zaire or Congo Basin and the Guinea coast experience equatorial climate, and in South America, the Amazon Basin and the coastal lowlands of northeastern Brazil, coastal Colombia and parts of Ecuador. So these are the countries where equatorial region extends in South America. Now students will see the map in this page, and here it's given about the climatic regions in different continents, and the names are mentioned, like in West Africa the Congo Basin, the parts of Southeast Asia and the coastal plains of Colombia in South America, the Amazon Basin. So these are the parts all over the world where the typical characteristics of the typical characteristics of equatorial climate can be seen. Now students will discuss about the climatic conditions of the equatorial region, and first we will take up the temperature. So if we learn about the temperature condition, then the angle of incidence that sun makes with this region near the equator, it varies between 66.5 degree to 90 degree. So this angle is like sun rays are almost vertical throughout the year over this region. Therefore, the mean annual temperature, that is the average annual temperature, is 27 degrees Celsius. And students, the annual range of temperature is also very small, which is only 3 degrees Celsius. The annual range of temperature means the difference between the highest and the lowest temperature in a year, that is the coldest and the hottest months. If we take up the highest temperature of the hottest months and the lowest temperature of the coldest months, and when we find the difference, it comes only to be 3 degrees Celsius. So we say that the annual range of temperature is very, very small. Now children, if we talk about the diurnal range, means the daily range of temperature, this means the difference between the temperature of the day and of the night. So the daily range of temperature is only about 7 degrees Celsius. So the reason behind this is that during the day, no doubt, the insolation, the sun, the heat received is maximum, so days are very hot. The nights are also not cool because the cloud cover, the cloudiness, the clouds, they prevent the heat to escape out of the atmosphere of the earth and keep the nights also warm. The nights are not cool and the days are very hot. So the difference between day and night temperature is not more than 7 degrees Celsius in the equatorial region. There are 2 maxima and 2 minima of temperature related to the apparent movement of the sun northward and southward. Now children, what does this statement mean? This means that Earth is inclined along its axis. So if there is sun, so here the northern hemisphere is towards the sun and the southern hemisphere in this position is the south pole is far from the sun and the north pole is close to the sun. So definitely the northern hemisphere is having summer and at the same time the southern hemisphere is having winter. So when the northern hemisphere is inclined towards the sun, then it is having summer, so it will have a maximum and minimum temperature, and while the earth will revolve further in its orbit, the southern hemisphere will face the sun and it will have a maximum and minimum temperature. So this is discussed here in this point, that there are two maxima, means two maximum temperature and two minimum temperatures. When northern hemisphere is towards the sun, there is one maximum and one minimum temperature, and when the southern hemisphere is towards the sun, there is another set of maximum and minimum temperature. So there are two maximas and two minimas because of the apparent movement of the sun. So children, this is all about this point. Next point, there is very little variation in length of day and night, thus seasonal variation is also very less. So there is little variation in the length of day and night. This means that throughout the year sun rays are almost vertical on the equator. So the length of the days and nights doesn't vary much. Whereas if we see, we take another example like any place, for example India. In India during summers the days are longer than the nights. Whereas in winter the nights are longer than the days. Just because we are away from the equator in the tropical region. But in the equatorial region, the sun rays are almost vertical throughout the year. So the duration of day and night doesn't have much difference throughout the year. So these are the features related to temperature of the equatorial region. Now students, will see the rainfall conditions. So the equatorial region is characterized by very heavy rainfall throughout the year. And children, the rainfall is very heavy, means it ranges between 150 to 350 centimeters, and the mean annual rainfall is 250 centimeters, more than 250 centimeters. So it's quite a good amount of rainfall is received, and the rainfall is well distributed throughout the year, means throughout the year rainfall is experienced. It is not seasonal, rather throughout the year the rainfall occurs in this region. The rainfall is mainly convectional in type. Children, we will discuss about convectional rainfall. What do you mean by convectional rainfall? This kind of rainfall occurs due to the development of convectional current and this is due to very high temperature, and this type of rainfall occurs in the afternoon every day throughout the year in the equatorial region. It is accompanied by thunder and lightning, and therefore and it has a time duration between 2 to 4 p.m. this rainfall occur. So we call it 4 o'clock rainfall or 4 o'clock shower. And if we see the next picture, here I have put up a picture of convectional rainfall. Let's understand this. In the equatorial region, the air near the earth's surface gets heated and start rising up, and as it rises up, it condenses when it reaches a certain height, because the upper atmosphere is cold. So the vapor condenses to form cloud, and then the clouds, they cause precipitation, that is rainfall. So a current is formed, forming a cycle, that is evaporation, condensation and precipitation. Again, the precipitation, that the water comes on the earth's surface, again it evaporates and the cycle continues. So a convectional current is formed. Therefore, this type of rainfall occurs due to the development of convectional current in the equatorial region. So this is known as convectional rainfall. So students, that's all about the rainfall, convectional rainfall in the equatorial region. Let's see what else is mentioned here. The annual rainfall is characterized with a double maxima or especially heavy rainfall shortly after spring equinox in March and April, and autumn equinox in September, October. So this is about the rainfall condition which occurs during equinox, both the equinoxes, the spring as well as the autumnal equinox. This region experiences high humidity. So check the humidity, it's 80% due to very high temperature, evaporation is very high, and therefore is very high humidity, 80% throughout the year. High humidity causes enervating oppressive climate that makes people feel uncomfortable and tired. So the oppressive climatic condition because of high humidity make people feel uncomfortable. The hot and humid climate and monotonous daily weather causes physical and mental indolence. So because there is no change in climatic condition, the seasons stay same. So it's actually monotonous, and therefore it causes physical and mental indolence. These conditions lead to several diseases like malaria, yellow fever and sleeping sickness. We even call it trypanosmosis. Sleeping sickness is also known as trypanosmosis. So this is experienced in such region, the equatorial region, because of the typical humid monotonous climate. Several seasons in quick succession are experienced in a single day. Mornings are bright and sunny like spring season. Soon it becomes to warm up and the rate of evaporation is very high, and then followed by convectional currents. They are set up by noon when it becomes intolerably hot. And humidity is also very high at the same time, which adds to the discomfort of heat. So students, it seems like in an equatorial region, in one day several seasons are experienced. In the morning it's bright and suddenly starts getting warm up, and the temperature gradually becomes so high that it's intolerably hot, and it adds to the discomfort. By afternoon, the convectional currents are set up. They rise with large amount of moisture. So the water By afternoon, the convectional currents are set up. They rise with large amount of moisture, with them forming cumulonimbus clouds. So children, the cumulonimbus clouds, they are dark clouds and they cause very heavy rainfall. They cover the whole sky and the condensation begins, followed by heavy downpour of convectional rainfall. So students, this is the daily phenomena that occur and leads to the occurrence of convectional rainfall. The torrential rainfall is accompanied by thunder and lightning. On an average, 100 to 200 thunderstorms are experienced every year. So such convectional rainfall occurs every day in the equatorial region. So students, I hope now you can understand the climatic condition, the weather that prevails in the equatorial region. Nights are fairly cool. High humidity makes nights also sultry, means it's uncomfortable, and the coastal areas experience refreshing sea breeze. So students, that's all about the climatic conditions of the equatorial region. Now students, will take up the natural vegetation of the equatorial region. Let's see the first point. So it is the world's densest vegetation cover and is found around the globe along the equator. So students, we have already learned that the natural vegetation, the forest that grows here is very, very dense because the high rate of the temperature is very high, and it leads to high rate of evaporation followed by condensation and very heavy downpours. So because of very, very heavy rainfall in this region, the vegetation is very, very dense. It grows in layers. The ground layer, it contains the creepers and the climbers and the bushes, herbs, and then the trees which have average height, they are not very tall, and then finally the emergent layer where the trees are very, very tall and they are hard wooded and their canopy is so huge, the branches spread so much and they merge with each other that the sunlight cannot penetrate in such forest. So these forests The vegetation is very dense because of very heavy rainfall, and that's why they are also known as evergreen rainforest. Rainforest because they are there because of heavy rainfall, and they are also known as evergreen forest because the trees in these forests, they never shed all their leaves all together. They shed some of their leaves, and then when new leaves come, another lot of leaves are shed by the trees. So in Amazon basin in South America, the tropical rainforest or the equatorial forest is known as selvas. So students will see the map. So here is the map, South America, and this region, this is known as the Amazon basin. This is river Amazon, and you know this is the largest river in the world, and there are two reasons. First one, it is flowing in the equatorial region, which is a region of heavy rainfall, and so it is always filled with water. And the second reason is that more than 1,000 tributaries provide water to this river, making it the mightiest river in the world. This is the region of bright sunshine, high temperature, high humidity and precipitation, which is rainfall, that favors the growth of variety of plants, and therefore the equatorial region has a dense, lush, green and luxuriant vegetation. So why the word luxuriant is used? Because wide variety of trees, plants, herbs, shrubs, creepers, climbers are found in these forests. They grow here and they are found only in this part of the planet, in the equatorial part. The trees are broad-leaved and evergreen type. They always look green because there is neither a particular season for shedding leaves nor any common period of seeding, flowering, fruiting and decaying. So all around the year, different species, means a different variety of plants, they have different cycle of shedding their leaves, of seeding, flowering, fruiting and decaying. So different plant species follow their different cycle, and because the climatic conditions prevailing in this region is almost same throughout the year, so the plants can easily follow their own cycle of different processes like flowering, seeding and so on. The vast extensive forest belt cover about 7 million square kilometer is very important to environment, as the trees purify the air by absorbing a large amount of carbon dioxide and exhale huge amount of oxygen. So students, we know more the number of trees, more oxygen we get and more carbon is absorbed. So trees or forests are basically carbon sink, where the extra carbon is absorbed, is used by the trees and they give us oxygen. So there is a special term used for the evergreen forest, and they are known as the lungs of the world because they are evergreen and they supply lots of oxygen. The trees are very tall, and students, the trees grow up to a height of 40 to 50 meters. So they are the tallest trees, grow up to a height of 40 to 50 meters, and this is because they struggle for the sunlight, and which is very essential for photosynthesis. Therefore they grow to a height of about 50 meters. So there are different layers of canopy. Canopy means a particular tree, it spreads its branches and that forms a canopy, an umbrella like feature, and their branches of different trees, they merge together and obstruct the sunlight to enter the forest floor. So there are canopies at different height. So trees of 40 to 50 meters, they form a canopy, that is emergent layer. Then below that, the trees up to a height of 20 meters, they form the second layer of canopy, whereas the third canopy is formed at a height of 10 meters above the ground. So at different levels, canopy is formed by trees of different height, of varying height. There are various types of trees and plants, and different types of lianas and climbing plants like climbers and creepers, tree ferns, parasitic plants, creepers reach the top of the canopy in search of sunlight. So students, you know, creepers and climbers, they are like stems, soft stem. They creep under their roots are on the ground and on the trees, and they even climb up the tree. They climb along any pillar or something, whatever, wherever they get a support, they climb along it, and they thrive for sunlight. Therefore, they reach even the highest canopy to get the sunlight. Thus, the region having dense vegetation looks dark and damp, because the dense vegetation cover creates an obstruction for the sunlight to penetrate and to reach the lowest forest floor. The floor of the forest consists of undergrowth of ferns and short bushes which do not depend on direct sunlight. So there are certain parasitic plants also, and undergrowth of ferns and bushes, they do not require much of sunlight. So they have adapted to the situation, to the environment. So they even survive without much sunlight. The important trees are mahogany, ebony, rosewood, green heart, rubber and cinchona. So these are the important trees that are common in all the equatorial forest all over the world. The dense forest having variety of animals provide world's richest ecosystem. So students, here the variety of trees, that is flora, and the variety of wildlife, that is fauna. So the flora and fauna is so unique, and such a lot of variety is found which is not found anywhere else in the world. Now students, this is all about the natural vegetation of the equatorial region. Now we'll learn that these forests, as they are so dense and dark, and difficult conditions prevail here. There are poisonous insects here, so there are certain hurdles which do not allow us to exploit these forests so easily. So let's see what are the difficulties in exploiting the equatorial rainforest or the equatorial forest. Students, this is a picture of the selvas. I have just put this to for you to understand that how dense these forests are. You can see variety of trees. You can even find herb, shrub. You can see the creepers here, climbers here. There are tall trees also. So variety of vegetation is found in such forests. Students, this picture I have put up for you to understand the layers of vegetation. First, forest floor, the vegetation which grows near the forest floor. Then the understory, they are not very tall. This is the canopy and emergent layer, the tallest trees, they form the emergent layers. Now students, this is the list of trees, important trees growing in the rainforest. And here we come with the difficulties that we face while exploiting the equatorial rainforest. So the first one is these forests are very dense. So it is very difficult to enter in these forests because there are vegetation in layers, and even to move for a short distance, we have to remove lot of obstacles, small plants and trees and bushes. So much of vegetation is there. So it is a real obstruction in entering such forest. Trees are not found in pure stand. Pure stand means a single variety of tree is not found, or single species of tree is not found in a particular place. For example, rosewood is a common tree of equatorial region. If one tree of rosewood is found in a particular place, then we have to look for the another tree. Then we have to move, cover a long distance. So this means that single variety of or species of tree is not found in large number in one place. So they are actually mixed. Therefore, they are not found in pure stand, and this is a biggest problem, that the exploitation is very difficult. Trees are hard-wooded and logs are heavy and cannot float in water. Now students, we need to understand this. In case of temperate forest where the wood is soft, they are softwood trees. Softwood is actually very light, and when they cut down the logs are tied and they are put into the river. It floats and it reaches the factory downslope. But in case of hardwood trees in the equatorial rainforest, they are very, very heavy because they are hardwooded. So they cannot even float in water, and as they are so heavy, they cannot be even transported in boats. So the transportation of logs become very difficult. The next is the forests are dense and dark, and therefore it is very difficult. There are swamps and marshes, which is another hurdle in exploiting such forest. Even reptiles and poisonous insects thrive in the damp environment, which is another threat for the people to enter such forest. And even the native people who live in such forest, they have a conservative mind. They are very much close to their environment, and they want to safeguard it. Therefore they are not very friendly with the outsiders, and they do not allow and they do not like outsiders to enter and exploit such forest. So students, these are the hurdles or difficulties in exploiting the equatorial rainforest. Now students will learn about the human response, that is the adjustment of the native people or the people, how they have adjusted in the environment of equatorial rainforest or in the equatorial region. So the most part of the equatorial forest region is inhabited by tribal people, and here we take up one example of pygmies. They are the native people or tribal community. They live in the Congo Basin. They lead a nomadic life of food gathering, hunting, fishing and shifting agriculture. So they either practice shifting agriculture, or if there is source of water, they go for fishing. If animals are there, they go for hunting, and in the forest they gather fruit and other product of the plants so that they can survive. So students, let's have a look at some pictures. So they are pygmies. Here you can see they are fishing, hunting, and we have more pictures, gathering food, practicing agriculture, or they have a temporary settlement where they are cooking. So you can see they are short stature people. They live in the Congo Basin in Africa. So students, this was all about the pygmies. Now, after we have known about the tribal community, most of the equatorial forest region is sparsely populated. So definitely these communities, like for example, just now we have learnt about pygmies. So they do not have a huge population. They are few in number because these forests are very dense, impenetrable, hot and humid, oppressive and enervating climatic condition, which is not favorable for human survival. But on contrary to these forests, some parts of equatorial region like in Asia, Java, Singapore, parts of Indonesia and Southeast Asia are highly developed, and here these areas are densely populated. So this is because of availability of several resources, whereas in case of pygmies, the areas are sparsely populated because the climate is not suitable and the resources are limited. Whereas the other parts of equatorial region, where it is highly developed and resources are available and they are fully utilized. So these areas are densely populated. Now we will see some pictures to understand. So these are the pictures showing you Singapore, Java and the other important cities of Southeast Asia, which are very much developed. Though they are in the equatorial region, they are very much developed. So here the population is very high, the density is very high. Now students, the last point here is many rubber plantations is practiced in Malaysia. Plantation and subsistence agriculture is practiced in Southeast Asia, Asian countries under the equatorial region. So here we can see some variation also, that even agriculture is practiced in the Southeast Asian countries, and plantation, basically rubber plantation, is practiced in Malaysia. So students, we can look at some pictures. So this is the picture how the latex, the fluid is collected, the rubber, and then it is processed, and all of us know that variety of products are made out of rubber. So students, that's all about the equatorial region. It is a natural region and a climatic region, and it lies near the equator. So in this module, we have learned about the extent, the location, the climatic conditions, the natural vegetation, and how the human beings have adapted to the equatorial environment. Thank you.